Today we will be learning how to make this lovely dress with a necktie and front pockets. Please watch till the end of this video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Everything April YouTube channel. I want to thank all my viewers and subscribers for making out time to view my videos. Please, if you have not subscribed, click on the subscribe button to subscribe now, and also click on the notification bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. Thank you. For this tutorial, I will be using this green Ankara fabric that I have already laid out, and also a white and black striped Ankara fabric for my necktie and for my front pockets. I have folded my fabric into two, the front part into two and the back part into two, and I will be cutting the front and the back parts together. For you to know the amount of fabric you will use, you will be dividing your biggest body circumference by 4 and adding about 2 to 3 inches allowance to that, and that is what I have done, and I'm using my hip, which is the biggest circumference I'm working with. I have also drawn out my vertical measurements, and I will be taking you through the lines. The first line is my shoulder line. From my shoulder to my chest line is 9 inches. My waist line is 16.5 inches and my hip is 24 inches. And the length of the dress I'm working with is 42 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance for hemming the dress. To get my shoulder slope, I will be taking the 3-inch 8 inches standard for shoulder slope, and at the 8 inches point I will be coming down by 1 inch and connecting it to the 3 inches mark I've made before. Then on the shoulder line, I'll also be imputing half of my across back, which is 8.5. I will do the same on the chest line and then connect the 2 points together. On my chest line, I will be imputing quarter of my bust circumference. My bust circumference is 38 divided by 4 is 9.5 plus 1/2 inch for ease, which will make it 10 inches. So I'll be imputing 10 inches on my chest line plus 1 inch seam allowance. Then on my waistline, I'll be imputing quarter of my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for ease. My waist measurement is 32 divided by 4 will give me 8, that plus 1 inch for ease, that is 9, plus 1 inch seam allowance, making it 10. Then on my hip line, I'll be imputing quarter of my hip measurement plus 1 inch for ease and 1 inch seam allowance, making it 13 inches. Then I will be bringing down this measurement to my hem line, and then I will connect these lines together. For the armhole curve, I'll be getting the middle point between the shoulder slope and the chest line, and then for the front armhole, I'll be coming in at this point by half of an inch and then connecting to the chest line and also to the shoulder slope, and this will be our front armhole. And for the back armhole, I'll be connecting just to the middle point. Then for our neckline, I'll be using a neck width of 3 inches and a neck depth of 3 inches for the front neckline, and for the back neckline, I'll be using a neck depth of 1 inch. I'll also add half an inch allowance for joining the shoulders together. Then I'll go ahead and cut out. Please note, before cutting out, you have to check to make sure that your measurements are correct, that you've added all your allowances in order not to make any mistake. Please take note that you have to cut the back armhole first. Do not cut the front armhole as you're cutting together. That will be cut out separately. Also, for the neckline, we'll go ahead and cut the back neck depth first before cutting that of the front part of the dress. On the front, I will be making a slit of about 4 inches of length. Then from the neckline, I'll be coming in by half of an inch and then connecting it to the 4-inch point for the slit. I'll connect this half an inch to the 4 inches I made below and then cut it out. Then for my pockets, the front pocket, I'll be cutting it on this black and white striped Ankara fabric, and I'll be cutting the two pockets together. I'm drawing out a line as a point of reference. I'm also drawing out a line on top at the point of reference for taking my measurement. Then I'll be taking a length of 12 inches. I'll have 12 inches length for the length of the pocket, and I would rule across that 12 inches point. And also I'll be taking the width of the pockets. I'll be taking 8.5 for the width of the pocket. That is, the measurement for the pocket is 12 inches by 8.5 inches. Then I'll cut this out. I also cut out a basic short sleeve for this dress. I used a cap's height of 3.75 inches and my sleeve length is 9 inches. Then I added 1.5 inches hemming allowance to this. Please, for a detailed tutorial on how to cut a basic short sleeve, I will be dropping a link where I explained in detail how to cut a basic short sleeve. I will be dropping a link to that in the description box below. I also cut out the fabric for my necktie. I have a total length of about 82 to 84 inches. I cut out 45 inches into 2 places and then joined them together, and I have a width of 4 inches. Please also remember to trim out the front armhole. Then, with the right sides facing each other, I will join the front and the back together on the shoulder using the half-inch seam allowance I left for that. I will join them together on the shoulder by half an inch. After that, I will be attaching the pockets to the front side of the dress. I have cut out all the pieces for this dress, and for the pockets I ironed in half-inch seam allowance all round except for the upper part of the pocket where I ironed in 1-inch seam allowance. I have also joined the two pieces I cut out for the necktie together and ironed open the seam. I also ironed interfacing, soft interfacing to the necktie. The width of the necktie is 1.5 inches. I cut out a piece of this fabric on bias and used it to tidy up the slit I made in front. To attach my pockets, I measured 19 inches from the shoulder. I measured the length of 19 inches and that's where I'll be placing my pocket. I noted this point, and then I'll be placing my pockets 2 inches away from the center front on the right and 2 inches away from the center front on the left side. That is, I will have 4 inches space between the pockets at the center. I'll be measuring, I have a crease at the center front. I'll measure 2 inches away from the center of the dress. I'll measure to the left, and 2 inches, I'll also measure 2 inches away from the center to the right, and also place my pockets. I would arrange them very well. I would arrange them and make sure that the spacing is correct. Then I'll use a matching thread to attach it only to the front side of the dress. Do not sew the two together. Raise the back part and sew on the front side of the dress, attaching the pockets to the front side of the dress. Then after attaching the pockets, I'll be sewing the 1 inch seam allowance on the side, joining the two sides together, and also attaching my sleeve to the dress. I've attached the pockets and joined the sides together. I've also attached the sleeves. So what I'll do next is to cut out a piece of fabric on bias to turn the neckline. So with this piece of fabric I have, I'll be cutting on bias. I will not cut the fabric straight. I'll cut on bias, just like you see me do. I will draw a line in a diagonal manner. I will not cut it straight. I'll cut on bias and then use this piece of fabric to turn the slit I made in front. And I'll be showing you how I did that. I will be attaching right sides of the fabric and the piece on the dress facing each other. Then I will sew and then turn it to the back and top stitch. Take the measurement of what I have on my neckline from one point to the other, from one point of the slit to the other end of the slit. I will take the measurement, and I have about 18.5 inches. After taking the measurement, I have about 18.5 inches. After getting this measurement, I folded my necktie into two, and from the center I measured out half of 18.5 inches. Then from there I sewed up what was remaining, what will not be used to attach to the neckline of the dress. I turned it right sides facing each other and sewed it together all round, and then turned it out before attaching the necktie to the neckline of the dress. Sorry, I lost the clip where I did what I just explained, and that is why I'm explaining it without showing it. Then I will be attaching the necktie to the neckline of the dress. I'll be taking one side of the necktie, and starting from the wrong side of the dress, I'll be attaching it from the wrong side of the dress. I'll take the 1/2 inch seam allowance I ironed in and attach it from the wrong side. I'll be attaching from the wrong side, and I'll be pinning them all around as you see me do. I'll pin from one point of the slit, from one side of the front to the other end of the front. I would pin right side of the necktie to the wrong side of the dress. I'm pinning the right side, one side of the necktie to the wrong side of the dress. I'll pin it all around before sewing it. After pinning, I'll sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and after sewing that, I will then turn it over to the right side and then sew again, now to the right side all round, and then I will hem the lower part of the dress. I have sewn the first part. I've sewn the right side of the necktie to the wrong side of the neckline, just as shown. I have sewn it together on 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I will be turning over the other side of the necktie, and I'll use that to cover the seam I made while sewing the first part. I'll cover the seam so that it will not be shown, and then I'll be top stitching on the same point on the neck tie. I'll be top stitching and covering the seam I made while attaching the first part to the neckline. I'll then go and sew up and cover the seam. And that is it for our dress with necktie and front pockets. I've sewn everything, I've attached the necktie, and I've also hemmed the lower part of the dress, and that is it for this dress. Please, if you enjoyed watching this video, give this video a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please click on the subscribe button and also click on the notification bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. Until my next video, bye.